I would say the majority of the industry is still lagging behind. They don't know much about that. And actually, when they start monitoring, they realize the waste that they have is higher than they thought. So there is still a bit of denial. And if you can't measure, if you don't measure what you have, you cannot manage it. So that's still the first problem that we see in the industry. The second problem is about actually the employees. The employees are the core of the industry. The chef can share more than me for sure. And if employees are not really involved nor reward to reduce food waste, then it's very difficult. You can set the targets as a corporate, as a hotel, as a chef, but then if your team doesn't follow you, it's a problem. So engaged staff are essential for success. And then the third reason is actually there is still a bit of misunderstanding of food waste can actually be very important for cost saving. So there is still a bit of underestimation of how much can be saved in terms of food waste. And the cost of food waste can be actually between 6 to 14% of a food revenue of a hotel, which is quite a lot. So this is actually some of the reasons why the Pledge on Food Waste was launched and started back in 2018, was a creation with the basically best practices on how to prevent and reduce food waste in the industry, put together and create a methodology. This became also a tool to tackle another issue. So the first issue is the lack of know-how. Hotels don't know how to reduce it, and the pledge can help with that. But the second issue is the lack of recognition. So there are hotels that are doing the right thing, they're doing a lot, but then there is no a certification for that. And this is why the pledge came into place with a third-party audit and then certification for who deserve the recognition. The pledge is composed of 95 criteria that are equal to 100 points. There are some criteria that are compulsory and some criteria that are bonus. And the bonus criteria will determine the final score of the hotels. So they can start from the bronze level, from 70%, going to silver, gold, or all-star, which is 100%. And we are pleased today to have Chef Dominic that with his team, they achieved 100% with the pledge at Anantara de Palm, Dubai. The philosophy behind the pledge is the food waste hierarchy. And this is actually the main component, I would say, of today. So the main focus is preventing food waste, so reducing at the source, because preventing is better than heal. But obviously, it's quite impossible to have zero food waste and in the kitchen. So what we can do with what remains, we can feed people with the surplus that we have, we can feed animals with the food waste, or we can transform it. But the most important thing is to avoid the landfill. Why? Because then if we throw food waste to the landfill, this will produce methane. And because we saw before, methane is a problem that contributes to global warming. So this is the main point and the main concept of why we actually want to avoid the landfill. And the pledge framework was built around that. So the 7 pillars are touching different topics. We have process documentation, we have employees commitment, we have monitoring food waste, we have reviewing the operations before the preparation, and also the preparation and the offer. We have guest engagement, and then post-consumer. So the first pillar is about setting the foundation. So lay the foundation with a policy, with an action plan, and also reporting what was implemented at the end. The second pillar is about the staff. As I said before, is fundamental to engage with them. So it's important to reinforce training, so hard skill, but at the same time also soft skills. So involving them, rewarding them, raising awareness. For example, the employees canteen is a very good touch point to raise awareness with the employees. And the combination of those actions can have a positive impact on the staff. Third pillar, linked to one of the problems that we saw before, is monitoring. So there are many solutions in the market nowadays. The important thing is having it in place. Doesn't matter what you use, but you need to have something that can track and analyze the food waste that a hotel produce. The fourth pillar is about reviewing the purchasing. So try to avoid over purchasing, try to avoid spoilage. So making sure that the storage are in the right condition, and there is a procedure to manage it well. The fifth is the actual preparation and the offer. So making sure that the portioning are adequate and good enough and right enough for the offer, and there is not much food waste. Also try to use byproducts to produce and create what we call zero waste dishes, and eventually also managing the buffet in the best way possible if the hotel offers a buffet. The sixth pillar is about communication. So there are many ways to communicate with the guest. It can be by being more assertive and have some communication to basically nudge the customer at the buffet, or it can be more subtle by communicating the values the hotel wants to actually embrace and basically share with the customer, and hopefully nudge them to be more mindful in the consumption. But then we have the seventh pillar, which is the topic of today. And here we go back to the hierarchy that we saw before. So if all of those actions were aiming to prevent and reduce food waste, then we have feed people, feed animal, and transform. So if we start with feed people, we have two options. I would say two main options. The first is the food rescue apps, or discount food at the end of the day, at the end of the shift. So the good thing here is that we are trying still to make some profit or cover some cost, at the same time try to reduce the stock that are still produced. Why hotel might fail on that is because sometimes it's not available. If we can think of, for example, maybe some resorts in some destinations might not have this option. Or another problem is some hotels might don't want to associate themselves with discount. We had, for example, a client in Ireland that was a very luxury hotel that chose to not have their food discounted because of positioning. So this can be something that go against the applicability for them of this option. And to make this, well, there are, without naming anyone, but there are many apps available in the market, but can also be some solutions in-house. Another way to feed people is partnering with food rescue organizations, so charity that can come to pick the surplus and redistribute it. So why it's good is to help the community. I think it's a great way to do something good, to feed who actually is in need. But the cons of that is that, first of all, it depends on the country. There are some countries where it's very difficult to collect cooked food, so maybe it's not allowed. So there are those norms on hygiene. And the second problem is that it relies usually on a voluntary basis. So who does this is there are volunteers. So maybe they don't have the capacity to rescue as much as they want. And then we have feeding animals. So not in every country this is allowed. So for example, I'm based in Thailand and it's allowed. So here the concept is having food waste to feed either pigs or fish in the farms, and they can eat the food waste. It's good because this food waste will re-enter in the human food supply chain. So it gives the idea of circularity. The problem with that is that if we give to the animals maybe food waste from the plate, for example, and then there are some illness of some people, this can actually affect the animals. And this is actually why in some countries it's not legal. So the best would be to give, I don't know, preparation waste, trimmings, or maybe buffet waste. But as I said, this is something that unfortunately it depends on the legislation. And then eventually we have the transformation. So it can be compost, it can be transforming into something else, or even upcycle into other products. But on this, I would on purpose stop, because we have for sure the expert here from PowerNut, and I'm sure they can share a lot about this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marco. That was very interesting. You know, we talk a lot in hotels about decarbonising and carbon. And because we all have carbon targets, you know, it would be very interesting to ensure a lot of hotels are aware that, you know, food waste impacts our carbon, and that 6 to 14% of food revenue is also, because along with carbon is money, 6 to 14% of revenue of a hotel can be saved or is put down as food waste. So very interesting indeed. Thank you. So now we're going to move to Reese. Reese, you'll tell us a little bit about your solutions and PowerNot and how that can transform the post-consumer waste. Because aside from reducing waste, which is what we all want to do and want to achieve, always reduction first, we are still always going to have a little bit of food waste. And what are we going to do with it? You know, some countries are blessed with gardens that they can just pop it out the back and have compost, but then of course it has to be segregated. But other places, and especially urban destinations, don't have that ecosystem. So over to you, what you can tell us about PowerNot.
Thanks. First, I want to say thank you for putting this together. Food waste is often overlooked, but it's one of the biggest things that we can actually take action on today. Before coming to PowerNot, I was focused on plastics. I was working in a chemical recycling. And once I was in that industry, I really saw how big of an impact we can have on food waste today if we can raise awareness. So thank you for inviting me to this webinar. Let me see if I can see the slides. Do you have the presentation up? Hey, Tiffany, was someone going to share it, or do you want me to share it? You're on mute.
If it doesn't come up in a moment, then if you could share it, that'd be great.
Okay.
I think you can go ahead, Reese, and share your screen. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, is that clear for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So first I want to touch, where PowerNot came from and where kind of biodigesters have their origin. PowerNot's been around since 2009. We're the oldest and largest manufacturer of food waste biodigesters in North America. Back in 2009, we really got our start from fulfilling U.S. military contracts. From there, we really grew into anywhere food waste is a problem: hotels, casinos, restaurants, resorts, cruise ships. All of the R&D and mechanical hardware and software is developed by PowerNot. We're headquartered in the Silicon Valley, about an hour south of San Francisco. And to date, we've done 1,000 plus machines globally, and really had a huge impact on sustainably disposing of food waste. This picture gives you a really good overview of all the products we make. In the middle, you have our core product, the LFC biodigester. Then on the right, you have our lug cart. Then further on the right, you have our bin tipper. On the left, you have our pumping system. We also have vacuum systems. So if you're in a facility that is transporting things via vacuum, our machine can integrate with it. Communication devices, at the top, you can see our GSM modem, as well as our water mixing system. But the main thing tying this all together is our LFC Cloud, our online system that's giving you all of that data. And I'm going to touch on that again later in this presentation. These are some of our premier customers. People do get them for different reasons. Bomo Island in Fiji, for example, they're such a small island, they had nowhere to put the waste. It can be due to cost of offloading, but a huge reason many of these resorts got it is to meet corporate sustainability goals. The Pledge on Food Waste, Anantara, UAE federal law number 24 of 1999 prohibits intentional disposal of pollutants or waste from ships, aircraft, or any other means into the marine environment. One thing our digester has really done, besides helping land customers, is ocean customers. Almost every major cruise line globally has our machines on board, and they're able to process all of that food waste from the cruise and then safely and legally discharge it into the ocean after it goes through the machine. We do have an LFC 500 installed at Anantara World Island and Anantara the Palm. So how does it work? What the biodigester is doing is it's creating the ideal environment for the microorganisms to do their job, which is to eat food waste. So think of a tropical environment. We have oxygen pumps, it's temperature controlled, there's misters, there's things to mix the food waste. So anything that you could eat, which I'll go over what can and can't go in the machine after this, but basically all the organic waste goes into the main drum. The microorganisms, a special blend we call powered zyme, digest the food, and then it comes out of the machine as a gray water that's safe to discharge down the drain. So organic waste, including fish bones, breads, pasta, shells, can go into the machine. A good way to think about what can go into the machine is that anything that you could possibly chew up and swallow could go into the machine. If you can't, for example, a large beef bone or pork bone, you need to avoid going into the machine. Some chicken bones are okay, but these items need to be separated. So the added value for hospitality is to help achieve zero waste to landfill goals. You're also saving costs on waste management, reducing your greenhouse gases. A big one that people often overlook is workers' comp claims for worker injury. When you have someone carrying a large bag and hoisting it into a dumpster, if you're doing that hundreds and hundreds of times, injuries do happen. So this helps avoid that. Standing out against competitors, if you're one of the only hotels that's doing sustainable things with their food waste and no one else is, it gives you a huge advantage to put a spotlight on that. And not to mention, it sets example for everyone working in the company. Everyone's going to know that you're using this and you're doing the right thing with your food waste, and they can feel good about coming to work. And a major one is winning over environmentally conscious patrons. If you have someone looking, where do I want to book my wedding? Where do I want to host? If it's a corporate event, where do I want to host my event? Many companies do have sustainability teams look into the hotels, not just the price, but also their footprint. And they'll actively select hotels with the lower footprint, even if they're more expensive. So it is really important, not just to your location. A good thing, if you can take anything away, is to remember the 5 C's: convenience, cost savings, compliance, cleanliness, and control. I do want to touch on control. Actually, having your data on your food waste is extremely powerful. It's like if you don't have a control on your food waste, it's like running a business without a budget. You don't have any benchmarks or anything to pivot off of. So having that data is really key. So having the documentation, so SOPs include the LFC biodigester as a standardized on-site disposal solution, ensuring transparent documentation of how food waste is safely managed. It's a very clear-cut thing that you can just add into your documentation. To commit, the staff committed, reinforced by training on proper use of the biodigester. Everyone's on board. It's literally a hands-on thing that is building this commitment to doing the right thing. And this can trickle down. All of a sudden people are thinking about other ways they can help do something sustainable. So it's extremely visible within the company. Monitor. This is the control I was talking about earlier. Having that ability to see all of your food waste in real time. I'm going to go through that in more detail later. Offer. So storage by handling ensures that any food lost despite best practices is sustainably treated, prevents accumulation of rotting waste that could cause secondary losses. It's nice to have somewhere to put it that's clean and sanitary, in a modern way to dispose of it when you have to. Prepare. Encourage chefs and staff to sort and separate food waste properly for efficient digestion. So again, this is that hands-on. People are actively taking the food waste out. They're putting the recyclables where they need to go. It's really helping organize things, because if you do have everything mixed together with your food waste and not a clear place to put it, it can slow things down. Engagement, customers can be shown how food waste is converted into water instead of landfill waste. So this is a very clear path. You know, you have food, you have waste, and you have a place to go for it to go, so it comes full circle. Divert. The biodigester provides a final zero landfill diversion pathway for food scraps that cannot be reused or redistributed, converts unavoidable waste into gray water safely returned to the ecosystem. And what I also want to touch on here is that to begin with, your food waste is 70 to 80% water. All of that water is being recaptured on a commercial level by the wastewater facility. So that's not being lost. You're actually recapturing that. LFC Cloud. So this is really the brains behind the operation. You're able to see and graph all of your food waste data, as well as all the diagnostics and health of the machine. It has all the reminders for any maintenance that's needed. And this was developed by us. The software is our own, and it's really a user-friendly interface. And this is included with our machine for the lifetime of the machine. Some key metrics. So our machines have NTEP certification. NTEP is a third-party legal governing body that verifies weights and measurement. So we had all of our machines certified. So that what that's telling you is that you can use our data and really know that it's being backed by this body, that it's accurate. So the screenshot you see here, you can see the waste ingested and then carbon reduction. The carbon reduction is given to you in tons. So you can see exactly how much CO2 you're diverting from the atmosphere. And again, these numbers are backed by NTEP. Another thing that we've integrated with our system is being able to quickly and easily export it to Google Drive. So if you do want to, play or move around the data and make tables and graphs, it's just one click, and then you have it into an Excel format. Group data comes into play when you have multiple locations. For example, this is if you have a cruise ship or a shipping company, you can group all the data to see them side by side. So if you have 5 ships, each ship has 500 people on it, you can plot that together. And this is what that looks like. So if you, in pink, this is really an outlier. If these were the same size ship, you could see something is going wrong on the ship. They're probably over purchasing. There's just too much waste compared to the other ones. So it gives you a benchmark to really go off of. Or if you have 5 hotels, why is this hotel wasting so much more food waste? It gives you something to look into. Oh, yeah, and then we're on to the next one. Chef.
How are you?
Great, thank you
so much.
Thanks so much, Reese. That's amazing. So I guess the key message here is that technology should be a part of our operations, and certainly data is critical to demonstrating our progress. And I think being able to see the data on food waste, I guess it certainly assists hotels with their planning, or cruise ships with their planning and decision making. So Dominic has just joined us again. So Dominic is with Anantara the Palm, and as I mentioned briefly at the beginning, under his leadership, he has received the 100% All-Star rating with the Pledge on Food Waste, so congratulations. And they also do have the LCF biodigester as well, so I think Dominic's in a great position to speak about his experience of both of items of what we're talking about today. So Dominic, I've just got a few questions for you.
Please.
That we have just to talk about a little bit of what we've learned today. So in the context of Anantara the Palm, can you share your commitments to sustainability and perhaps where food waste fits in with that?
Of course. First of all, thank you very much everyone for coming and for having me here. It's a pleasure sharing our achievements, what we have done, where we went through, and yeah. So our sustainability goals for Anantara the Palm, of course, is food waste reduction, organic waste diversity, 50% from landfill, and 75% reduction in plastic, and of course, reduction in water.
Right, and I guess with this particular product, you should be diverting more than that. I would suggest. So what do you think it was the biggest challenges before the implementation of the biodigester?
Well, before, well, where are we going to put all the waste, right? That was the question at the beginning. Where to send the food waste, how we will remove it from the landfill. We can't compost it manually. Here it's related to space and rules and regulation. And so we had it as mixed food, right? It was always a big challenge. We know landfill food waste is high in methane and carbon. So we need to deal with it somehow in some way. So how effectively reduce the food waste, preventing food waste, it's more important than where we send it. So we need to stop and or reduce as much as possible.
Yeah. I guess definitely reduction, and then the challenge of where to put it. So speaking of reduction, so when we turn to the pledge, when you implemented the pledge, how do you think that changed your team's behaviour or understanding of food waste?
Well, okay, the first thing with pledges, it has to be driven by the people, right? The moment everyone understands this and everyone is on board with that, you can achieve really, really good results with that. So from us, we looked at the post-consumer pillars, right? The redistribution, the landfill avoidance, and the reduction. And then we looked at it, oh, wow. Food waste was being produced, yes, but plate waste, what is post-consumer is also a key of the waste picture, right? So it's not just receiving, ordering, and overproduction. Plate waste can also be a lot as well. So when we started here in Anantara, the pound, we had 80% waste from the plates. What comes from the buffets, the brunches, the team events, generally events. So pledge helped us to look beyond this one. So what can we do? So for example, in staff canteen, we did a no bin. So we slowly implemented it once a week, twice a week. And then until now, we are 100% bin free. You can do this in staff canteen easily. With the guests, it has to be a lot about education, right? So for example, certain things of what we do is towards, let's say, the end, the last 45 minutes, 1 hour, when we replenish the buffet, rather than replenish it in large oversized containers because the restaurant is quite big, we start choosing smaller plates, more individual ones. So the guest still has the full experience, but it's actually less on the buffet, what actually produces then less of the plate waste and less of the buffet waste. So once we reduce the plate waste, what are we going to do with it, right? So one thing is donation, what was mentioned a couple of times before. What is a little bit challenging here, I'm not saying it's impossible, it's a little bit challenging. So we do it once in a while with animals. And then also if we have large buffets where we know we're going to have some leftovers due to the request from the client, then we work with Food Drive here to get it to people in need, but it's not always possible, right? Therefore, after reduction, we need to concentrate on the circular economy initiatives, and that's where PowerNot helps. As is the biodigester allows us to divert the waste away from the landfill, right? Our target was 50% with PowerNot, and we did 100%. The machine takes everything, produces water, and we use it for irrigation. So it's a win-win situation for all of us.
Fantastic. So was it difficult when you put the machine in operationally for the team to get on board and use it? Did you have to change operations?
For the PowerNot,
as such?
no, not at all.
Yeah.
For the PowerNot, not at all. Honestly, it was super easy because it's located near our refuse garbage room and it's not in the kitchen. So the stewarding team, when they come around to collect it, they're moving anyway towards that direction. And then we just need to make sure the segregation is done well. So each one of the steward, they had a card They got trained with the card, when to use, how to use. So the reading of the machine is done correctly. So under each outlet, everyone has a card. They swipe the card, the outlet is mentioned, they put it inside. Done. Thank you very much. It is absolutely easy to use, very user-friendly, and no challenge at all to implement.
And then the reports, you can see the reports of what outlet where the
absolutely,
the
yes,
waste
absolutely.
is coming from per se. Yeah. Oh,
absolutely.
fantastic.
So when you see like some let's say irregular readings where you say, oh, that's very high or that's very low, then you can go back and you can dig and find out what happened or what didn't happen. And it's very easy to track because after a certain period, you know what is the approximately waste amount. So it's very, very easy to read, very easy to handle and understand.
Fantastic. So what advice would you offer or give other chefs or hotels about either the pledge on food waste certification process, because, you know, that has been quite an undertaking, as well as implementing technology such as the digester?
I'm sorry, Tiffany, it was just a bit loud in here. If you could please repeat your question.
Oh, sorry. So what advice would you give to other chefs or hotels, particularly about the pledge and what you've learned and how that has helped you? And then perhaps the digester.
Okay, with the digester, because we just spoke about it, I can just recommend it to everyone to do. It's a very straightforward tool and machine to use. Everyone can understand it. It's literally very simple. You come, you have the card, you swipe it, you put it in, that's it. There is no other skills or knowledge you need to have. You have a proper reading, it turns it into the water, and it's done. You know, it is very easy to use. For the pledge is more complex. And when I say more complex, I mean it in a very positive way. It is, and I had a discussions previously on this one. It's basically things what you learn when you go through culinary school, all right? Where what is the right thing to do? What is the wrong thing to do? And sometimes we're getting carried away working in big places and we just have to produce, please the customer, and we lose a little bit track of what is important. Why are we overproducing so much? Why are we spending so much? Why are we wasting so much? So the pledge is simply said, a hard document where you have to go line by line, point by point, go through, and you have to basically educate and train your team. It's over and over and over again. But it doesn't stop there. It's like also you're doing education for your guest, right? So for what we have done is we started with our own team members. So we have a staff canteen where we produce breakfast, lunch, dinner for our team members. And so what we done with them is we started off with them, how they perceive it, because we're serving 800 meals in each meal period for them. So we started educating them. We had posters out. We had things on the screen, on the TV, where we highlighted, okay, this is the waste we had yesterday. There's the waste we had last week. And when people start to understand all of a sudden how much you actually waste, and people becoming a bit more conscious. So after giving the training, educating the people, we took it to the next level and we removed the garbage bin. As I said earlier, we did it 1 day, then 2 days, until eventually we are literally running a food waste bin-free staff canteen. Yes, we have some, there is maybe a peel or the stone from the fruit or stuff like this goes inside, fine, but actual food waste, it's fully removed. Now, then we have taken it forward to the restaurant in our all-day dining, where I'm really proud to say we got the all-star rating. After the first year, we got a gold one. We had some shortcomings, but I think that was more of a motivation for us to push for the all-star. And yeah, it's literally about training your staff, educating your guests, and basically repeating this and make sure they follow the basics. It is nothing extraordinary. You don't have to buy extra tools, or you don't have to get extra people in to do it. You just have to take your people one by one in small groups, and you have to explain them why they shouldn't do that and why they should it in this way. And yeah, in the first year we done it was a bit more of a push, but when we did last year from gold to all star, honestly speaking, the team was fully on board. The team was absolutely pushing, very positive about it. So I think once you have the people and your team on board, I think you just take it forward. It is just not something where you have to dig in a lot. Yes, it's a lot of documentation, but it is not a bad thing to have a lot of documentation. It's actually, in one way, it's a good thing because it reminds you, okay, don't forget this, let's go back onto this. We need to improve on that point. So overall was really good. A great tool, a fantastic tool to help to bring things on the right track, on the right line. So
great. Well, that's great that you've had that experience and you keep going, because I guess it is always about those processes and that framework that you can work to, and the pledge having such specific guidelines that each operator can work to. So that's really, really good to hear. So thank you. So thank you to all of you. We're almost coming to the end of our session tonight. So we're going to open up the floor to the guests. Listeners, you tell we've been in hotels too long. Feedback, questions. So if we have any questions from the floor, please type them away, and we'll ask our panelists this evening to answer them. So so for Dominic, we have a question here.
please.
So what was the single hardest challenge change you had to make in your kitchen operations to go from good or gold to 100% all-star?
Very good question. I think with this one, the biggest change was, I think, going after the team and giving them these trainings and the reminders over and over. Because the thing is, the people know. I mean, you hire professionals I hire professionals for my kitchen, right? So you hire professionals, they know it. And I think it's just to set this reminder, to set the right tone and explain them the reason why. I think that was a big push we had to do. Yes, we did small changes, but had a big impact, like what I mentioned earlier, towards the end of the buffet, when we replenished the buffet, rather than filling it up in big containers, we made it in smaller containers, small platters, individual platters. What helped a lot in terms of the waste on the end, 100%. But I think what is really important is what I think everyone has mentioned today is it's about not what we do after we produce the waste. I think it's important of what we can do to prevent, to make more waste.
Yeah, to prevent. Perfect, exactly. That brings us to Marco. Actually, you've got a question. So it's what is the most overlooked bonus requirement that hotels can easily implement to boost their certification scores? So bonus requirements.
Bonus.
We love a good bonus. We love a good bonus. We love a bit of inside information here for all of you who are thinking about doing the pledge. Get your notepads out.
Well, maybe not easily, but something that can be implemented that I would say can spark the creativity can be to actually upcycle some food waste itself in other ways. So, for example, we have some clients that use the coffee ground and upcycle into to make some scrubs, and then they actually use it in the spa. And this is also a nice way to create a storytelling, or for example, more classic ways to use some peels, citrus peels, to create some EM, effective microorganism. So those are ways that can create something in house to also tell a story and to use some of the food waste. That's an easier, I would say, bonus criteria.
Great. I think creativity, there's so much you can do to, you know, we're set in our minds so much, you know, food waste must be thrown out, but you could always do other things with it that spa coffee grounds. Fantastic. There's a few items there. And Reese, so we often see these solutions in larger resorts, and you did mention cruise ships, etc. So we often see these solutions in large resorts, but does your solution make sense for smaller boutique hotels or restaurants?
Definitely. And you got to keep in mind, we have all different size machines. So
Right.
we have very large machines. We also have the smallest digester on the market, and those are less expensive. But in terms of does it make sense, you have to look at the big picture. This machine is designed to last for 20, 25 years. So the ROI can be over a long period of time. You also have to take into consideration, you know, the labor hours of have your employees filling up trash bags, hauling the trash bags out, cleaning the trash bins. All of that time and energy is saved. Not to mention the boost it gives your hotel in terms of doing something sustainable, and that you can market that and share that with guests. So it definitely makes sense for all sizes.
And your configuration is you can put them in the kitchens as well as in the refuse rooms. So it's configurable depending on the site's requirements, I would guess. And that would depend where the machine goes and how it's used.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Oh, some more are coming through. So, Dominic, did you take into account the cost of a digester compared to the cost of food waste management? For example, disposal to landfill.
Did you take it
Sorry,
into
would you like
account
me
the
to
cost of
rephrase it?
digester compared to the cost of food waste management? Disposal to landfill. I mean, see, the good thing is with the biodigester is we will have food waste anyway. I mean, where we are, we have big buffets. We have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and so we will have food waste anyway. So with the biodigester, the good part is you put it, it turns into the water, and the water we use for irrigation. Like the hotel where I am, we have a very large greenery area. So we have a lot of trees and greenery area. So the water is used on this one. If that answers the question.
Yeah, I think so. And also, I guess if you're not putting it into, if you're not putting the food waste into landfill, you're not carting as much landfill to the landfill, I guess. So hopefully you'd have a reduction in cartage fees as well. So yes, okay, we've got a few more coming through. Excuse me, reading on a separate screen here. Okay.
I can see one question. How long does it take for the certification process from start to finish?
Yes.
I mean, when we started, I remember with Marco, I think it was, I mean, not I think, I know it's a 1-year process.
Right.
Because in the beginning, when you start, you open the online platform and you see the pillars, and then when you open the pillars, each pillar has a lot of under points. Marco, if you want to add anything, please feel free.
No.
And in the beginning, because it's new and you have to go into detail one by one, it takes a bit time to be set. But I'm very fair with you. The year 2 we done it. It is something, it's more automated because you know it's there, you know you need to go through, you need to review this one. And is also, we call it evidence, right, Marco? Like you take a picture of something what you have done. May it be the training, may it be a showcasing on the TV or the education. So there is a lot of things what is there. But the thing is, we done it in the first year. And yes, it took a little bit more time. I have to be very fair with you. But in the second year, because we already done it, we already have seen it, we know what is the steps going to be. So it went quite more quicker to do. But it is an ongoing process. It's not something you start today and in 3 months you reopen it and continue. No, it's something you should do every day, and you should be consistent in this one.
Exactly. Sustainability is always about the journey, so I guess this part as well. And Marco, how long do you find most sites take? I mean, obviously every site's different depending on how many employees that they have and their commitment to the program, but on average, what would you say is the length of a certification process?
Yeah, it really depends on the hotel. I would say between 6 months to a year. Depends
Right.
how many also criteria hotels have already in place and many other factors. But yeah, realistically speaking, I would say around, if you can do an average, 8 to 9 months.
Okay, good. There's another question for Dominic that said, what were the drivers behind what you wanting to get certification?
That's fantastic question. So for me, I made everyone part of it, because the moment everyone is part of it and everyone understands it, it is much faster to do. Now, who are the key drivers? Of course, my back of house manager, my hygiene manager, my chef de cuisine, my sous chef of the outlet, the chef secretary, and myself. So there is 5, 6 of us who've been heavily involved, hands-on. But that comes down to when we have to do the training, to take the pictures and stuff. But the actual work is we involved everyone on this one, because I think it is not a program you roll out for one outlet. Yes, we done the exercise, or we done not exercise is wrong. We done the certification for one outlet, correct? But wherever we see that had a really positive impact, we implemented it also in other areas. So we make everyone part of it. But the big people is 6, 7 people I have involved into the project.
Yeah. Good. So this next question that's popped through, perhaps it's more for Marco, but perhaps all of you. But it says, how can we encourage less developed nations which still have high food waste, yet lack funding, financial support, awareness, access, etc., pick up this commitment towards technology or food waste management? I mean, look, we do know the cost is always an issue in hotels. I mean, everyone thinks that they make squillions, but obviously every business has its fiscal responsibilities and will always have priorities. So, you know, I guess we always hear this often, but sometimes it is definitely a challenge. So, and of course, cultural challenges as well. So how would you best answer that? Perhaps Marco, you've seen a lot of hotels implement this, or do you need me to repeat? Sorry.
I can also jump in.
Yep.
So you do have a lot of developing nations, and just like this, that are looking for things, and you also you do have everywhere in the world. You do have international hotels and international corporations, and as part of that corporate social responsibility, you really need to set an example. So like if you're in a remote part of Africa and you do have a Four Seasons or a resort, it is important for these places really to set an example for everyone around them and teach them and educate them, become part of the pledge and spread awareness. So I think that in these areas, we focus on international hotels that do have the resources to hear about pledge or hear about a webinar like this, know about a digester, and really set an example. And that's one reason a lot of these corporations have sustainability goals. So you're not only doing it at your hotel in Switzerland, you're doing it chain wide, and we're seeing that more and more.
And Marco, would you have anything further to add to that you may see?
No, I agree with Reese. I would say that also now with the internet, awareness can be easily or more than before accessible for everyone in the world. So there are also some things that can be implemented, I would say, without investing necessarily much money, starting from the basics, segregating food waste, for example, from other sources of waste waste that now is still sometimes a problem, and then start to identify where the food waste actually start to be generated and work on it. So obviously without technology is possible. Maybe it's a bit, I would say, harder. You cannot obviously transform, for example, the food waste, but you can try to be more cautious. So those can be the starting point, and then we hope that there are programs that can help funding the and solving this issue in those areas.
Yes, the awareness is a big thing, and encouragement, and it's I guess a journey, as I mentioned before. So no matter what you do, as long as you do, and once you start and you work towards it, and as things progress, you can change direction as you get more resources or commitment, but you all have to start somewhere. So I think I hope you've all found this useful. I'd like to thank all of you for joining. We definitely have seen some great examples today of what can be done, and seen some insights of how the pledge works, and certainly the benefits of the biodigester. So thank you very much. I believe this webinar has been recorded, so it will be available online, and for those of you who registered may get a heads up on when it is available, and I'm sure we'll let you know as well. So if there's no other questions, thank you everyone, and thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. It's been really, really insightful to see. All right. Thank you, and goodbye.